Hey students, Armando here, and congratulations for starting this course and welcome to your first video inside of my servant leadership course. Now you are actually the first class that is going through the changes that were made inside of this course. So that is why I will be launching a whole new set of videos to walk you and guide you through the various assignments when it's needed. So make sure that you are following along. So remember that success leaves clues. So I try to give my students a lot of clues outside of doing the work for you so that you can be very successful and maybe take a little stress off of this course, especially if you're taking other courses and then juggling work, life, faith, family. All those things don't stop when you are a student. So again, congratulations and welcome to this course. And so make sure that you are checking your announcements because this will be posted either in the announcements or also possibly as a pinned post in the discussion questions, but I usually do it under the announcements. Okay, if you have any questions, you can definitely drop them in a private message inside the course. You can email me, or of course, if you have a general question about this particular video or something you saw in the video, you can go down to the video comments and you can put a question there and I will get back to you. And then the only thing I need you to do, which is absolutely free, is to hit the like button right now on the video, because even though there's only so many students that go through this course, there are other students who don't have professors who do courses that have videos in them. And so maybe this can reach another GCU student who's taking this course with another professor, and they can watch the video and maybe get a little help along the way as well. So I'm going to walk you through, let me go over to full screen. I'm going to walk you through first the actual assignment so you kind of understand what you need to do. Okay. Now you want to make sure that you are reaching this topic area through the left-hand side here. Okay. That you click on topic 1 and that will bring you to everything within topic 1. And why that's important for your assignment is because over here on the right-hand side, you're going to see all the resources that you need for topic 1. So if we go to the actual assignment, you're going to see here, the very first line, in preparation for this assignment, review these details right here that are located in the topic 1 resources. So again, you are going to be looking at the resources right here. And here's the first one, 6 common leadership styles. Okay, you want to make sure that you review that prior to completing your assignment. Also, this assignment calls for a graph for you to complete. So you're going to see there in the topic resources that you have access to Canva. Now, again, we are allowing you to use AI to generate an image based on what you are going to be talking about in your paper. I'm going to show you an example of that when we get to the actual assignment. So make sure that you watch this video until the end so you don't miss out on those clues that will bring you success, not only for this assignment, but for the entire course as well. So as we go through here, here is the Canva resources. So if you've never used Canva, go through these tutorials. Here's a how to use Canva beginner's guide. And this is free for you to use. So this is why I would highly recommend you using Canva to do these templates. Here is the infographic templates as well. There's already some launched inside of Canva to give you an idea. And again, I will be showing you an actual sample of one of these templates that aligns with your paper in just a few minutes when I actually walk you through the actual assignment. Okay, so make sure that you are reading all of the details that are required. I'm not going to babysit you. You can definitely read this on your own. Now, when it comes to the word counts, okay, make sure that you hit the minimum word count. Okay, I do not deduct points if you go over the recommended word count, but you will lose points if you are under the minimal required. So in this particular case, you want to make sure that you have at least 750 words analyzing these 4 main bullet points right here. Okay. This is also very important. You want to make sure that you use at least 2 scholarly sources. That means that your sources in these 2 should not be internet-based. They should be based on a journal, a book, or something that you have researched. And again, I encourage you to use the GCU library as well. Then part 2 is going to be this infographic. So make sure that you read this section here. And again, I really don't want you to sweat the infographic. This is not a graphics course, right? So whether you handwrite it and take a screenshot and insert it in your paper, and I'll show you that in a minute, or you actually do something in AI, or you scan an image from a book that aligns to something that you're talking about, that is absolutely okay with me. You just want to make sure that you give credit to the source if you do take it from a third-party source, okay? So that's going to be the infographic piece, okay? Again, you can refer to the GCU library images, infographics, and so forth if you want to get some ideas, and I will be showing you that in just a second, okay? So again, here, general requirements, you can use AI, but again, you want to make sure that you give credit to the AI that you use. I'm going to be covering this rubric here in just a minute. I want you to make sure that you watch the rubric. And again, just a reminder that this is an APA formatted paper. We do use LopesWrite, so you do have to put it through a score, okay? And just make sure that your work is your original work, because if it's plagiarized, I'm going to be able to see that on the back end, okay? Your LopesWrite score should really never be more than maybe 2 or 3%. And if those come from like the references, I deduct those because I understand that students will obviously use some of the same references because it's inside the resources inside of the course. When it comes to the quoted text, okay, you really don't need physical quotes inside of your paper, meaning you should be paraphrasing what you read. So the example I give students all the time is, imagine getting your favorite book, copying that exact same book, but just putting quotation marks and then putting your name on it. That is still plagiarism, okay, because that's not your original work. So your quoted text should basically be at 0, okay? That's a 10% max that's allowed by GCU. So if you did quote one line out of a book, for example, word for word, and you were under 10% and you quoted it and you cited it, you would be okay. But you really do want to get away from quoting stuff. You really want to leave quotes, for example, for like I say something physically, you can say, well, so Terrell said, and then you would quote me, and then you would cite me. But if you are just going to be paraphrasing what you are reading, you don't need physical quotation marks. You just paraphrase the information, and then you give credit with a citation. Now, if you're taking a, checklist, for example, Greenleaf and the top 10 characteristics of Greenleaf, that you can change. Right? Those will be the top 10 characteristics that he talks about: empathy, listening. There you go, word for word, okay? And you give credit to Greenleaf and the source, and then you're good anyways. But again, you want to make sure that your LopesWrite report for any work that you submit should really never be above 3%. And if it's a little bit higher, it should be directly due to the resources or the references being matched. And secondly, your quoted text should really be at 0% across the board. Okay, so those are the main parameters of the assignment. I do want to walk you through the actual rubric now so you can kind of take a look at how the scoring is going to be. And again, I'm not going to babysit you here. You are all grown adults. But if you hit on the rubric link in that assignment area, this is what's going to come up. And you can kind of get an idea how the scoring is going to be done in each of these categories. So as you put your paper together, you really want to make sure that all of these sections are covered inside of your assignment. That'll make it much easier, and it will come together here in just a minute when you kind of see the sample paper. But again, that's where you find the rubric. There's the link there in the same assignment area that I just showed you. Click on it, and if you want to just double check if you covered each of the sections here, then you can go ahead and just check here. And if you want to go a little bit deeper, how the scoring is done, you can look at obviously a 5 will be the highest and a 1 will be the lowest in each particular category. Okay. So now what I want to do is I want to go ahead and show you the sample paper. And before I do, just a reminder, right? This video and the sample paper is for educational purpose only. You cannot copy the content, but what I want you to focus on is the structure, how the student put it together. This was an A paper. If anything else, you can take a look at the APA title page. You can look at the formatting, the structure of APA. You can look at the reference page. And if you can get that right, you don't lose points when it comes to the APA section of the rubric. Okay, so let me go ahead and jump into that sample paper. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into the structure of this assignment so we can walk you through. First of all, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to have your APA title page. And again, I understand that, this is not an APA course, but again, you are expected to at least meet the minimum requirements. I'm not a huge stickler for APA because this is not, again, an APA course. But when I'm giving you a sample paper, there is no reason why your paper should not look like this when it is submitted, at least the format portion. And again, make sure that you do not use any of the content that you are watching in this video. Okay, so you've got your title page. Make sure that you've got your page number starting with the title page in the upper right-hand corner. You can see an example here. Okay, this is where your name would go. Okay, and then your information will look something like this. So if you just follow this, you're not going to be losing points for that. Okay, I'm going to kind of walk you through the structure real quick. And then as I kind of scroll through the paper, you can see how the student did a couple of very important things that you need to have in your assignment as well. The page numbers continue. So you want to make sure that you use APA headers. These are bolded, centered, okay, especially if it's a level 1 header. So the difference between the level 1 header and the level 2 is the level 1, for example, would be your main header. And then if you were going to break this up into 2 different categories, those would go offset to the left, bold as well, and that would be called a level 2. For the most part, you are totally okay with just using level 1 headers. Okay, as the students began the content, you can quickly see, right, citations. Make sure that within every section of your assignment, you have in-text citations. This avoids any possible claims of plagiarism. You should never have 2 or 3 paragraphs without a citation. So my rule of thumb is for every paragraph, you should have something cited, because whether it was something you read from a book, a journal, something that created your thoughts to put your thoughts on paper, the source was wherever you read it from, right? One of the links inside of that resource area. So make sure that you are giving credit. You rather over credit than under credit, because that opens the door for plagiarism. Okay, so you can see the student begins to do its contrast of servant leadership with non-servant leadership as well. Again, more in-text citations along the way, letting me know, the reader, that this information was derived from these sources. Okay, they go on a personal experience demonstrating leadership. They talk about it, and then they end up using a citation, which is the approach highlights the servant leadership emphasis on listening, empathy, and stewardship, and they got that from that source. Okay, then they continue to do a nice job with compare and contrast, right? Because again, they're looking at servant leadership and a non-servant leadership style as well. What they observed, again, they've got source information. They go into page 3. Again, you can see the page number in the upper right-hand corner. They finish that section, and then they begin the next section with characteristics of servant leadership and wisdom versus knowledge. Okay, so again, bold APA header, that lets me know, the reader, that you are now moving into a new section of your paper. Okay, again, solid content. You've got in-text citation, giving credit, and this continues throughout this section of the paper. Okay, here we begin to talk about the difference between wisdom and knowledge, some more content, and again, citation, giving credit, citation, giving credit. You can see how in this particular example, okay, the student citing where the content was coming from, what they read, why they compared the two. They interjected some of their personal experience, but they're still giving credit to that comparison. This is an excellent example for you to follow. Okay, we continue down now into the paradox nature of servant leadership. Again, page number, and again, we are citing along the way as they talk about the paradox of servant leadership, which is one of the key aspects that you will be writing about on your first assignment. We then go into the manifestation of servant leadership characteristic. Okay, again, solid content here that you can read. We've got our book listed here. We've got our outside sources listed here as well. Okay. They've got a connection to a biblical resource, which is listed here as well. And then they go on to finish this section of their paper. Then one quick reminder, if you're going to follow APA, the reference page is not a continuation of an existing page. The reference page is a standalone page. Okay. Now use caution, because sometimes if you're doing this on Word and your assignments need to be submitted on Word, not PDF, okay, unless you use page breaks, when you save it, it could shift your format. So you maybe just want to double check. And when you're done at the end of a page, go to your Microsoft Word and click on page break so no content can slide up or down. And if it does, it's not going to be a big deal. I just want to have you formatted as close to APA as possible. Then you've got references, centered, bold again, and then you've got the resources, okay? Keep in mind that the resources should be in alphabetical order, and you can see here the proper indentation of lines 2 and beyond for any particular source are indented 6 spaces over. So you start with the original citation flushed over to the left, and then any second, third, fourth line of that same research will all be indented just like this, okay? About 6 spaces over, okay? Now, if you're going to go ahead and include your graphic, which is required for the assignment, you can just drop it in at the very end. Again, nothing formal about that. And this is a good example kind of for you to see how they used the Canva tool to just put this together. So again, as a reminder, whether you are going to use, Canva, you're going to use some other AI generated source, make sure that it aligns and connects to what you just discussed in your paper. If you're using a third-party image, then just give credit in the reference page where you got that image from. If you create it from Canva, on your own, don't worry. You don't need to give credit for that because you're creating it on your own. So I just wanted to show you an example of what a graphic would look like. And again, listen, I was an art student. I'm not a big graphics person, right? So do the best that you can. Just have some form of graphic that connects to your assignment and you will be fine. Okay. So in essence, that covers what your first assignment should cover. It covers what your first assignment should look like. So you can now go back and watch this video second time if you need to focus in on the format. And then all you need to do is obviously put in your own work in the different content areas. Okay. So I hope you got some value on this video. I know most people are visual learners, and that is why I take the extra time to create videos for my students in my courses so they can have a visual to go off of. And that makes your life a little bit easier than trying to guess what should my paper look like or how do I put my paper together? Well, I just gave you the blueprint. All you have to do is follow the blueprint, but do your own research and interject that research into the blueprint that you were given. Okay. Thanks for watching. Make sure, again, that if you have another student that you know who might be taking this course or even within your own class, again, I'll put these links out under the announcements. You can share them with each other. And if you know a student who needs some extra help that's taking this course, make sure that you bring them onto the channel and they can follow the different playlists when it comes to the GCU playlist that I have on my YouTube channel. Okay. Thanks for watching. Stay blessed. I hope you had a chance to read through the prayer down below, thoughts on a particular verse. Stay humble and make sure that you are kind to someone this week. Thanks for watching.